I've gotten everybody. Let's go through this video.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in and joining us for this live stream today. So, slightly different format. You may notice Josh isn't up here with me. This isn't Q&A like the usual format. We still have a lot to talk about. An ongoing conversation about how things are going in the live game, plant changes, upcoming tuning, a wide range of issues that's going to continue in a lot of different formats, whether it's on our forums, social media, or streams like this.
Okay.
Today, however, I'm excited to talk about what's coming next in Battle for Azeroth content-wise. So far, we've had Horde and Alliance that kicked off this expansion just over a month ago with massive, massive battles, massive war. And Alliance really suffered a number of heavy losses.
Not massive, because if you bring more than 40 people into the zone, it will crash.
Losses throughout that process. Of course, the tree at Teldrassil was burned down. They thought they had the upper hand at the Battle for Lordaeron, the Undercity, but defeat was snatched from the jaws of victory.
Yes.
As the Horde left the city in ruins behind them. And recently, the Horde's been making incursions into Arathi Highlands and so forth. Now, it's time, however, for the Alliance to strike back. And
boy.
We had this initial war that broke out, and since then, we've moved on to Kul Tiras, to Zandalar, in search of new allies. And a lot of what we've been doing recently is, working with Jaina, working with Talanji, working with the new friends that we've made, the folks that we've met.
Ooh, feminism.
And for some, that larger conflict in the Horde and Alliance, unless you play in war mode, may feel a bit more removed, a bit more distant, because we've been solving the problems with Blood Trolls and Sethrak and the Drust and the minions of Queen Ashara and so forth.
Yeah.
But that's all about to change. So I'm excited to announce the first major content update for Battle for Azeroth, Tides of Vengeance. And I want to talk about what exactly this is going to entail, what you can expect. So first off, we have a lot of just core quest-driven, story-driven content in our outdoor world and elsewhere.
Damn.
The war campaign will, of course, continue. We're going to have additional chapters that continue to tell the story of the Alliance build-up, the Horde build-up, as, having laid their initial plans, they now make more heavy inroads into enemy territory.
Sorry, I've got to pause this. Does Sarfang have earrings on his tooth? Are we at that point now in WoW where we've run out of fucking real estate and he's got to put earrings on his goddamn tooth? Man, I've got a lot in common with this guy.
Territory and really look to undermine the opposition. We also have incursions, which are a new feature that are reminiscent to some extent of Legion assaults that we had back in patch 7.2 during Legion, where instead of the demons raining from the sky, there are going to be situations where an Alliance landing force has arrived in Tiragard Sound, and they have carved out an area of control. They have ships with forces pouring in. This will turn off world quests or spawns on the area and enable a new set of content with a wrapper that can be completed once you've done enough of it, very similar to how the Legion assaults were structured. Also, this will be available, these world quests will be available for any leveling alts that have already unlocked world quests, again as a way to sort of boost your leveling, vary the experience from the zones you may have already played through.
So invasions.
We also are going to have a number of new world quests just added to the rotation throughout the world. Additional variety, additional depth to that existing system that Battle for Azeroth launched with.
Wow.
Also excited to continue some existing storylines and introduce brand new ones. In Battle for Azeroth, we delved into Jaina's backstory and what it meant for her to return to her homeland after this period of effective exile. We saw a little bit about what might have happened to the Spirit of Vol'jin.
I know there's a lot of people's paychecks riding on this, and there's the audio problem. I think I might have a solution to it. Let me know if this is going to fix it.
But there's much more to tell on all of these fronts.
Sorry. I was wrong.
We're going to be looking very closely at Sarfang, whom as members of the Horde we last saw languishing in the Stormwind stockades, lamenting lost honor. Tyrande, what does she feel and what is she doing? What are she and Malfurion doing in the aftermath of seeing their homeland, of seeing Teldrassil burn before their eyes? And yes, what is everyone's favorite Urn up to? And what has become of Vol'jin? And is there a future for it?
Everyone's favorite
This
Urn.
and more are going to be explored
I see.
in Tides of Vengeance, the coming content update. Now, Heritage Armor. So, thus far, Heritage Armor has been a reward for allied races.
Who's that Pokemon?
But what if, we've heard from a number of players that it's awesome having this set of transmog gear that really feels like it expresses your racial identity. And it's amazing to see, the Void Elves, Mag'har Orcs, and others have this suit of armor.
I'm pretty sure it's Ragnaros.
Well, what if some other races could get that too?
Good.
And
wow.
So we're happy to introduce a couple of quest lines in Tides of Vengeance
Woo!
That will allow initially dwarves and blood elves to
explore
their racial heritage and earn a suit of armor custom made for them that they can show off to the world.
This is badass.
Don't worry, there's no massive rep grind or anything behind this. This is just if you are a max level character and you are exalted with your own capital city, which is a relatively easily attainable rep. So if you're a dwarf, you're exalted with Ironforge.
Or even add
you
it
can just
in.
log in, jump right into this quest line, and delve into a bit of your history and earn this reward.
Well, I guess that's okay. Yeah,
we're just doing these first two races for now, but this is something we look to continue to build on, just as we are with allied races, because I think racial identity is a really important aspect of World of Warcraft, and anything we can do to strengthen the connection that people feel with their characters is something we're excited about.
Alt-right
there are
community.
amazing stories to explore. Like on the Blood Elf side, for example, the massive dead scar that runs up and down the land towards Silvermoon. Not many players may know that that was actually, the result of a Scourge invasion led by the Lich King himself. But we'll be able to delve back into those events, relive a bit of that story as Blood Elves come to understand how they ended up where they are and what it means.
That's
to
cool.
be
I like that.
We also have a new Warfront. So as I mentioned,
the
Alliance suffered some heavy blows in the initial events of Battle for Azeroth, but now it's time for them to strike back. And so this is actually going to be the Night Elven forces and the Alliance as a whole looking to retake Darkshore, looking to reestablish a foothold in Kalimdor within striking distance of Orgrimmar, looking to reclaim their ancestral homelands. Now this Warfront is going to really be very heavily themed around Night Elves versus Forsaken.
Makes sense.
And so that means new structures, new upgrades, new systems. You can construct and summon large Ancients of War and ballistas and the full range of units that you would expect in the traditional Warcraft 3 style for Night Elves and Forsaken to muster. Now, of course, there are going to be Horde and Alliance participants as well, but this is a very different a very different take on the Warfront experience. And of course, given the structure, this is going to be one that Alliance starts out attacking at the very start because these lands are by default held by the Horde. So when this update comes out, the Alliance will be able to jump right into donating, going in, getting access to all of the loot that's involved in the Warfront experience. And just as we did with the Arathi Highlands, we're also going to be updating the outdoor zone of Darkshore as a max level experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
That will have quests and rares and
I like that.
things to do for the faction in particular that controls the zone at the
time. I like when I do
so
this.
So that it means something to know that your faction controls the area, and even if you don't have the Warfront at the time, you have access to this outdoor content there. Now, Warfront's obviously a new type of a new type of feature, a new type of content that we've introduced in Battle for Azeroth. We're of course continuing to expand as well upon islands. We're going to have 2 new islands coming in Battle for Azeroth in Tides of Vengeance. So first, Jarendal is a Vrykul-themed island full of looming ancient Vrykul ruins and mysteries to explore, as well as Havenwood, which is a gloomy, abandoned Gilnean city that looms and towers over this island, giving it a gothic vibe, a bit more civilized than a lot of the islands that we've come across so far. And players will jump in, explore it, in search of Azerite, of course.
What about the gameplay?
Now, as we look at the island system as a whole, we're not just adding 2 new islands. We're also learning from a lot of the feedback that we've gotten in the last month since the game has gone live.
This is about me.
And our own experiences playing the game and continuing to improve the underlying system. I think an area that's a major focus for the team is adding significantly more variety, adding new events, new exciting things that you can come across that more meaningfully deliver on the idea that each experience is going to be different from the last. So look for things like holdouts that you can trigger, or Azerite extraction Azurite extractors that you might set up and defend on behalf of your faction that give you a slow trickle of Azurite while you control them. But then you have to
I
worry
like
about
that.
the enemy forces recapturing them and
Yeah,
shifting them over to their side.
that's a really
while
good
you're
idea.
away,
I like that.
making the island a bit more dynamic rather than giving you
Okay.
a sense that, okay, you've cleared out this area. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
reason to
good.
come back. Now, underlying all of this, we're looking at the broader systems, and that means both rewards, but also the way the islands are spawned in general. We have some major spawning improvements coming to islands in Tides of Vengeance, where it's not just going to be... We want to move a bit away from the feeling that the islands can be uniformly blanketed with spawns by whatever enemies are currently occupying them, and a bit more of a feel that better reflects the traditional flow of World of Warcraft gameplay, where there are more tightly clustered hubs that are more likely to have rares and treasures and things to do there, and more gaps, more navigability of the island as a whole between those hubs. So more clustering, and I think in our internal playtests thus far,
That probably is a good
this has made
idea.
an immediate improvement on the overall feel.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to letting people jump in on the public test realm and check this out.
So you don't have like mobs chasing
Now,
you everywhere.
aside from new stuff, we also have traditional mainstays of WoW content. And so Tides of Vengeance is also going to be bringing a new large raid zone to World of Warcraft. Now, this is quite different from any raid we've done before. Really, historically, the raid is Siege of Zuldazar. Name, not necessarily final, but location, definitely final. Historically, in World of Warcraft, the way the big bad villain is expressed is often as a raid boss, right? Whether it's Burning Crusade facing Illidan in the Black Temple, or Wrath of the
Yes.
Lich King, you eventually ascend Icecrown Citadel and you fight the Lich King himself. That's the ultimate expression of combat against a foe.
True.
Well, here, if the foe's the opposite faction, many players have rightly noticed, hey, we've been spending a lot of time fighting the forces of Gahun. What about the Alliance? What about the Horde? Well, that's all about to change, because the enemy in this raid is the opposite faction. And what that means is a bit of a unique take on what a raid can be in World of Warcraft. We actually have two completely separate experiences, whether you're Alliance or whether you're Horde.
It's like Siege of Borealis.
So the story here, some slight spoilers, but this will all be data mined soon enough. So one of the big things that the Alliance War campaign, the war effort, is building towards is this strike, a first strike, a preemptive attack on the Zandalari fleet, on the city of Zuldazar, to cripple the new Horde Alliance and make sure that the Alliance maintains the upper hand. And so all of the events are leading to this. And so you, as an Alliance player, will join Jaina, join the the Alliance forces, land in the harbor at Zuldazar, fight your way through the city, up into the pyramid, including a new inside of the pyramid that we haven't seen before, eventually ascending to the top to confront King Rastakhan. Meanwhile, Horde players,
I hate him.
learning that the Alliance is attacking their city, will rush to its defense, beginning on the far northern side of the pyramid, in the jungles of Zuldazar, as they fight through the pyramid, fight through Alliance attackers. And for them, the events around Rastakhan are actually just a midway point. And the rest of the Horde raid is them actually fighting back down towards the harbor through Alliance forces, fighting different bosses, the remains of the Alliance attack, and eventually culminating in a battle against Alliance commanders, including Jaina herself, on the high seas.
Oh.
So two separate 6-boss experiences.
Jaina better not die.
Now, after that, we also want to give players a chance to see the other side of the story. So once you've finished this raid in its entirety, you'll return to what remains of Zuldazar, or if you're Alliance, you'll return to Borealis, where you will learn from scouts, from soldiers who are on the front lines, what happened in your absence. As a Horde player, well, what did the Alliance do before we got there? And through the vehicle of them retelling the story, you'll be able to experience the 3 bosses on the other faction's side that you didn't get to witness firsthand. And so what that means is, whether you're Horde, whether you're Alliance, you'll have a total of 9 boss encounters as you go through this raid. And this is telling the story.
That's
very real
badass.
conflict in the Horde and Alliance in a way that we've never done before. We've had the occasional faction champions type fight, or really even in Siege of Orgrimmar, it was both factions sieging Orgrimmar
3 shared
because
bosses,
they had a common enemy in Garrosh. Very, very different story here. We also have a second raid. This one's going to be coming a little bit later on. But this raid's called the Crucible of Storms. It's a 2-boss raid.
Shit! Okay.
Underneath the Shrine of the Storm in Stormsong Valley.
I like it.
And begins to hint at some of the dark secrets behind the Kathir, the influence of Queen Ashara, and more that Alliance players in particular have begun to uncover there. but that we're going to need to deal with. We're going to need to
I like
contend with.
this.
After we've stamped out the corruption of Gahun on Zandalar, Kultiris has more than a few problems of its own.
Yeah.
And so this is going to serve the role of sort of a trial of valor type raid. The thought is that this will be available a decent bit after Zuldazar. We don't want to overload players with too much raid content.
Of course not.
People right now are probably hearing this and thinking, like, not even halfway through Uldir. But don't worry, we're gonna, as we did in Legion, we want to make sure that continuing a steady stream of content, the release of which we pace out so that you're not overwhelmed, but also not feeling like you're waiting too long for the next thing. And we will have supporting world content and a quest line.
Oh, I like that.
Around the time this
That's good.
opens, there'll be other Naga invasions and Naga-themed world quests around the shores and coastlines of the new continents. And we want to make sure that everyone understands why they're going into this place, especially Horde players who may lack the context of having played through Stormsong Valley themselves. So tons of exciting new raid content coming next in Tides of Vengeance. Now, of course, aside from the big pieces of content, our first major content update also gives us a chance to really dig into various systems updates and improvements. This is a lot of the stuff that we've been discussing that was touched on in the AMA on Reddit last week. We've been doing some class tuning on via hotfix. That is still very much ongoing. We have a couple more passes based on all the robust data that we've been seeing on the live servers. But a patch represents a chance for us to really dig into talent trees and rotations a bit more and look at a handful of specs that still have some significant problems based on our own perspective, based on feedback we've heard from the community, and try to address those more directly.
So they're going to nerf warriors.
As well as ongoing numerical balancing that we've been doing to Azerite traits that will continue. We're also going to add a bunch of new Azerite traits that will be found on gear from the Zuldazar raid and more, as well as just some general replacements for Azerite traits that have been less interesting or less effective on some specs.
Couldn't that replace the old gear?
And again, the goal is to learn from
could pigeonhole players and only doing the same stuff.
Have been and continue to
could be
raise the
bad.
bar there. I think what we've seen in the first wave of traits is something of a floor in terms of overall complexity and overall level of engagement. We're looking to continue to add depth and expand and grow from there. That's not too different from how set bonuses used to work in the past, where often the first tier set bonuses were relatively simple because classes had changed, people were still figuring things out, and we weren't looking to layer on too much complexity right away. There'll be new profession recipes, Nobergon Pet Battle Dungeon for pet battle enthusiasts out there who've been wondering when the next chapter in that dungeon saga is going to be. And
boy.
Everything from map improvements.
That's what it's
actually,
about.
Reputations, something that has been touched on a lot in discussion recently.
I love it.
We already had plans in the works to make the Champions of Azeroth reputation effectively account-wide when it comes to the upgrades.
That was a very good change.
Azeroth itself.
Great change.
So in Tides of Vengeance, you'll be able to just log in, and if you have an alt that's already revered with Magni, you can just go get those upgrades right away when you hit 120. We've also been hearing a lot of feedback, especially in the last few days, about some of the things that make reputation inconvenient when you're playing alts or looking at switching characters. I think one of the big ones there is transmog, actually. There are a number of rep-restricted items on vendors and other sources around the world, where if I think the almost silly, ironic example is, if you're exalted with the High Mountain Tauren and you unlock and make a High Mountain allied race, your new High Mountain Tauren can't use that tabard because they're not yet exalted with High Mountain, and it has that requirement. So we're actually going to be making a change to pretty much remove those restrictions on faction-based transmogs across the game.
Okay.
Once you've earned it,
that's good.
Everyone on your account can use it. You don't have to worry about having to re-earn that. Separately, another pain point has been for completionists who are working towards the big achievements, like 60, 70, 80 exalted reputations.
That's it?
We're going to make progress towards that achievement truly account-wide. So if you have
only 80
reps on character A and 20 different reps on character B, that'll actually add up to the 90. You know,
completionists
being unable to switch characters because of your past investment. And yeah, we'll make sure that Horde and Alliance exclusive reps don't double count. So it's not nerfing the achievement, it's more just raising accessibility as a whole.
Okay.
One thing I just wanted to address,
that is good.
Thought of this while talking. I know the number of people who are wondering where Kultiran and Zandalari are. We talked about them in the past as an
allied
race. We're not quite yet there in the story, but they're very, very close. I think in the events following the raid, that's where this bond between our new allies and our factions will truly be forged, and where we'll be able to recruit and bring the Kultiran and the Zandalari formally into our factions.
Okay.
And no, if you're worrying or wondering about this, you're not going to have to rep up with some new faction. If you are, exalted with the Proudmoore Admiralty or Zandalari Empire, and you've done the war campaign, that's enough. You've played through the story, you've earned their alliance, they will come join your faction. But that's not going to happen until after the raid.
So that's a requirement. Okay,
so,
got it.
When is this coming? The goal is, fingers crossed, this Tides of Vengeance update we want to have on the public test realm by the end of the week.
It's a Twitch Prime elemental.
There'll be data mining out there, people jumping onto the servers as soon as they go up, and there's a lot more that I didn't even begin to touch on. There's a lot of tiny changes, a lot of new art assets, things that you'll be seeing soon, but we're incredibly excited to share this with you. And again, just to recap, we have a new Warfront, 2 new raids, 2 new islands, island improvements, heritage armor for non-allied races.
That's good.
Broader systems improvements, and more. Can't wait to see you in the public test realm. Can't wait for everyone to jump on and check it out. Again, thank you for tuning in, and we have a whole lot more to discuss in the future when it comes to Battle for Azeroth as a whole, but when it comes to the story, when it comes to the content in the game, we have we're viewing the Legion patch plan as our template, and that's what we want to carry forward. We always want to make sure if the world is evolving, the story is evolving, the things you have to do in the game are evolving, and that the content is well-paced.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all later.
He didn't say peace. That's too bad. So, I guess this was fine. I mean, everything seems good about this. There's nothing... I genuinely like Ian and the transparency of the dev team. Yeah. Great to see a new chunk already for BFA. That seems awesome. Thank you for the small update. Okay, that's good. Probably the biggest and best announcement for me is reputation achievement is going to account wide. Jesus, I freaked out. Finally. Oh, he's got a... okay, he's got a shadow tag. Okay, yeah, I got it. Although there's been a lot of criticism for BFA at the moment, I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm really hyped for 8.1. Yeah, I think a lot of people are. I mean, the thing is, people just want new content. They always want new content. The issue is that people go through the content too fucking fast, and Blizzard can't make it fast enough. If Blizzard made a new expansion every week, people would be happy because they'd never run out of shit to do. But the issue is that right now, because the barrier to entry with so much content is so low, they're just going to run out of time, and they're just going to finish basically everything really, really fast, and then they run out of content in 2 weeks. That's what happens. Sponsored comments? Oh, these aren't sponsored comments. Let's see. Let's find one that's not sponsored. Damage control time. Okay, here we go. It's too late, sadly. Yeah, there we go. There's somebody who's pissed off. Where's another one? There's got to be somebody else who's mad. Please fix Prot Warriors. I'm going to give this guy a thumbs up. Let's see. Hype is real. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, it could be better, but I'm happy with what they're saying. I really like that they're already adding 2 more raids. I think that's awesome. And I'd like to see more raids added into the game in general. I think raiding is really important. But that's about it. Watch the Heal vs. Babyface video. Isn't that all of his videos they're like my videos. They're just super long. I kind of want to do a few other things before I watch more videos, but I just want to see... I want to see what all this is. Let's communicate. Blizzard and the community need to talk. Emergency as number 35. Blizzard hit the panic button. So, this is something, Heals is mad. Yeah, the second one. There's nothing there is content on the screen. Okay. Watch Jordan Peterson video. Okay, alright, relax, bro. Just a second. So... I'll watch the first minute or 2 of this, and then I'll go back. But yeah, I mean, the Tides of Vengeance thing, obviously it's awesome. Everybody's looking forward to new content. Everybody's always looking forward to new content. It's constant. Yeah, sure, of course they're looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's not... It doesn't solve the underlying problem. And I hope that Blizzard starts realizing that after they keep they're putting out a huge amount of content. And players just don't give a fuck because it doesn't fulfill them. And that's the issue.